welcome back to my channel. I'm Carolyn. I'm a channel, I'm a distance energy healer, and I'm a spiritual awakening mentor. And I share these channeled messages for your awakening and ascension journey support. So today it's Celeste and me again. It's been a really long time since we've done a video together. And it's kind of funny because when we got together for this, we were just talking. We really had just spur of the moment decided we were going to try to do a channel, but neither of us had any topic in mind, or really just we were going to talk and catch up. And what came out of it was completely surprising, because normally we'll start out in a conversation where we kind of feel like we know what we're going to talk about. This was just a conversation about me watching a TV show that then morphed into, oh, I guess we're doing a video in our heads, right? So we started channeling through and it just kept flying in. So today's video with Celeste and myself starts with a television show that I was watching, which is amazing because I don't really watch a lot of TV, but this program I do watch, and you'll see what it is here in a minute. But from that, we end up talking about the mystery and magic of the days of old, the days we have never learned about as humans, the times that we've been taught are myth, but are actual human history. So we go back to Atlantis, we talk about Egypt, we talk about alchemy, we talk about Tesla. We cover a wide range of what I'll say are topics, but they're interlinked and it tells a story. And I haven't really sat and thought about what we brought through to like get down to, oh, how could this be? How does this happen? It just is. And so maybe you'll unpack a lot of it when you listen to it, but I thought it was fascinating. We decided we were going to share this with you. So again, today it's Celeste and myself. Celeste also does similar work to me. I'm going to include her information below. You can check out her website and her services, as well as see the link below where you can actually join me in a weekly email. You'll first get a video on flow and how to create it in your body for health and wellness, but the weekly email provides a supportive channel for you from the Light Keepers every single week. I usually send them out on Fridays. So join me there too for more messages. So today I'm just going to let you listen to this. So I'm just going to get started and let you listen to this, and then I will close out with you in the end. Enjoy the video. I was watching Ancient Aliens the other night, and they were talking about, when Atlantis fell, they said that there were those who preserved records and came to Egypt and stored them from Atlantis and stored in the Hall of Records. Anyway, they talked about the Hall of Records on Ancient Aliens, that they're in the Hall of Records, but they don't know where the Hall of Records is. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, that's what we talked about, was the Exodus. Remember we channeled that? The Exodus from Atlantis to Egypt.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, I've never heard that before, other than us bringing it here.
Anyway. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting that that's coming up.
Well, I mean, it came the other night on Friday, so, but,
But I mean, how interesting that we got that. That was a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, at least. Oh, I think it was talking about wireless technology. They were talking about the pyramids and how they weren't tombs, they were methods for alchemy. That's what this show is about. It was alchemy.
Oh wow, that's super interesting.
Yeah. And
when you were talking about the Hall of Records, I thought of the Essenes.
Oh my God, I have chills. Were they part of that?
I feel like the Essenes are somehow connected to the Hall of Records. Like the Essenes were somehow, I feel like and I think we might have talked about this before, that the Essenes came from Atlantis. They were the ones in charge of the information.
Okay, I just heard the words overseer.
They weren't called the Essenes.
Right. I just heard the overseers. So the Essenes, I just heard were keepers of the records. Okay, so that's interesting because I'm seeing very robed people. Are you?
Yes. I am seeing that there was like a group or a department kind of thing
Yes.
that was in charge and called the keeper of the records in Atlantis.
Mhm.
And they weren't called the Essenes at that time. They were called something else, the keepers or something. And then with the fall of Atlantis, some of them lived, and they were charged with carrying all of this sacred knowledge and information forward away in the Exodus.
So
Right.
So what we had brought through previously is that there were many others there were those who of a high level, we identified them as Essenes, but of a high level that knew what was coming, and so they decided to leave ahead of time.
Yes.
And I am getting that the Essenes, they weren't called that then. They just said a long lineage of keepers. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And so it was handed down. It's almost like to become part of the keepers or the Essenes, you had to go through a process of initiation and apprenticeship before you ever got to that higher level where you actually had access to the scrolls of knowledge.
And see,
this was later. This was after.
Okay. Because the show that I was watching was about alchemy and the creation of gold, and that gold actually comes from the sun. Ultimately, it came from the sun, but then there was a way to be able to create more of gold, and there was purpose in it being gold. And so they tied the pyramids to alchemy, to creation of gold, to Atlantis, fall of Atlantis, and then what we're calling the Exodus to Egypt to store those records. And then, and remember how we've talked about how the Egypt, it was in existence when Atlantis was. And remember, it's not it what they were. It was like a not a center city, but like an offshoot of Atlanta. Like the big cities are of the world.
Yeah. In fact, that's funny you said offshoot, because that's what I heard right before you said that. It was an offshoot of Atlantis. It was one of the. It's almost like its placement survived the Great Fall. Mm-hmm. Well, I think they were connected to Atlantis because not only, excuse me, were they part of this, like what you were sharing, this possible alchemy, but they were also portals.
Totally portals. Yes, completely.
Between Atlantis and the stars. So star beings would come in and visit it wasn't just coming in, it was going back and forth. Like there was this constant reciprocal.
Oh, you know what I just heard? I just heard alchemical power source. So remember, we've already talked about how the pyramids were a power source for communication across the world. We've already brought that through. They're showing that to me now, the wireless component to that.
Mm-hmm.
But I just heard portals for the star beings as well, because remember, it takes energy for them to be able to show up too.
Yeah.
I'm seeing them drawing them in. This is kind of weird. So I don't know if this is literal interpretation, but they're trying to help us understand this. Like the pyramid they're showing, like, again, I'm not saying this is literal. This is how they're showing it to me. They're showing a beam of light going up, and they just said drawing in. So like, it's almost like that would open up a portal, to your point. Okay, so this is funny what I'm getting. I mean, really interesting. It was like a super highway. Like, so the portal would open up, then they would show up. Okay, this is weird. And then because of the ley lines of the planet, the grid system would then allow you to come into Earth and then take like a rail system, if that makes sense, like a electrical rail system that would zoop you over to, that's a new word, zoop you over to another location through the wireless. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And in what you said about the ley lines, all of this, like those pyramids, are connected to ley lines. Like I totally got that right before you said it. So what confirmation? I love it. I love when we're in the zone like this. And yeah, connected to the pyramids, connected to the portals, connected to the
I just heard multi-purpose.
Yes.
It wasn't just one thing. Multi-purpose is what I'm getting. And I'm so the beams go up from the pyramids. Okay, that allows that portal, but then there's this. So there's up, and then there's a around. Does that make sense? From all the various points, and no wonder the pyramids all kind of look the same across the world because there's purpose in that. And I mean, some of this is for those of us doing this kind of work is kind of common knowledge now, right? I mean, but I think putting these pieces together is really interesting in that they're talking about multi-purpose. So that alchemical component, the creation of gold. Okay, they just said it was a creation of energy. But think about it, in the pyramid, it was a creation of energy. So they're creating an energetic. It's like what they're showing me, creating of energy within the pyramid that then is exuded out from the pyramid. Does it make sense?
Yes.
That opens up that, okay, they just said light pathway. And then, go ahead, keep going.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm getting a really strong sense that the sun is really connected into allowing for this alchemical reaction or creation to occur, as well as the portals.
Yes, and so now what they're wanting us to go to, but I don't know how we're going to do this, is the gap in between of where we are now and where we were then, and what has happened. Because what I'm getting is the health of the earth is tied to this fact that, and humans, but the health of, like when that all shut down after Atlantis, right? After the fall, everything went. Now there are still some portals. It's just not this massive. Everybody knows you can connect in and travel and all that. But there's a gap in between, and kind of what the grand purpose was, and how it kept. I keep getting that it kept Earth healthy too. The grid, the whole idea of the pyramids being operable. Because it wasn't just one function that it had, which was, you could say alchemical, creating gold or whatever.
You know what? That makes perfect sense. Because if those pyramids are connected to the Earth's ley lines, to the Earth's grid, then that would make sense. And here's the thing, because what I'm getting is that after the fall, wasn't the flood around the same time? So the Earth had to kind of come back from that.
Yes, and you know what they're showing me? I'm glad you said that, because they just gave me a metaphor of like the energetic system and ley lines within the earth. That's like our blood vessel system. Okay, they just said life force energy, like that energy that was being created. They keep talking about it being life force energy, but I think it's for the earth. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense. And I think with the fall of Atlantis and the Great Flood, that something happened to Earth. Like it was damaged in a way.
They're talking about the magnetics was damaged. They're talking about magnetics. They're using the word magnetic.
Excuse me.
Why are they saying polarization?
Because the poles shifted.
But that was when the ice age started. Oh, I have so many chills.
Oh my gosh. Well, of course.
I have so many chills.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It threw everything off.
That's why they gave us the word polarization. That's exactly it.
Yes.
They just said the tilt of the axis.
Yep. Everything shifted and tilted.
Do you mind? I'm going to shift to this. So it went off its axis, right? We had the ice age, and then I'm just going to go with this. The earth readjusted. It's not like it had another tilt, is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
It adjusted. Does that make sense? Are you getting that? Okay.
Yes, that's what I was getting. Yes.
What they're telling me now is okay, they're saying we're not going to have another tilt, but we're having another tilt in a way that is different, that allows us to, okay, they just said keep Earth intact
Mhm.
and not have that huge shift that happened, and the Earth will continue to will ascend in a way where it could be like a magnetic polar shift kind of thing, because it's so dramatic what we're going through, but
Yes,
they're not doing it that way. I don't know if I'm making any sense at
you are
all.
totally making sense. So what I'm getting is that with with the fall of Atlantis, it was human created,
Yes.
and it hurt it negatively impacted the earth. Okay, so things were tilted so much that it caused an ice age, people died, the great flood, all of it all happened, and it was all because of the scientific experiments brought on by those scientists in Atlantis that were really working against nature.
Yes. Uh, they said to me, when you were talking about the ice age and the flood, they said conjoined. So what they're talking about is there were a number of things that happened, um, okay, they said on a catastrophic level. Oh, it's like dominoes falling is what they're showing me. They're showing me dominoes, and like one thing affected another.
Yeah.
So you had, okay, so I'm getting, and I don't know if scientifically they've proven that how many millions of years ago the ice age was. I mean, I know they think they know that, right? But then the flood and then the tilt. But I'm getting this was a ripple effect. Now, ripple effect could be over, because of the Atlantis event with humans, right? And what we did,
Mm-hmm.
the ripple effect began. Now, it could be hundreds of thousand years in between. Forget time, basically. Forget time, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting that they're all connected. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I see that too. I mean, but I feel like this all happened because of humans' interference and ego and um,
Yep.
delusions of grandeur of being these master creators and being able to do whatever they wanted. And it the laws of nature don't work that way, don't allow for that. And so there was this huge backlash that, like you said, had these uh, negative consequences that were like dominoes, and it just kind of like, seriously, that's why they called it the Great Fall. So many awful things came of it.
So let's then move to, be kind of interesting to unravel this in any way we can. So the Hall of Records contains Atlantis knowledge. However, the pyramids aren't, they're they're not, they have not been, they just said reinvigorated, right? So what
Mhm.
is, I guess this is Carolyn asking this. So what, they keep showing a gap in between where we were and where we are now, and they keep saying firing the pyramids back up. Firing
Mhm.
the pyramids. Okay, okay, now they're saying, a good Lord, Tesla was onto something. Well, because we know he knew wireless energy. He understood it. He knew it could be free energy
Yeah.
for all. So they just brought Tesla into this conversation, but they're talking about that's what they had then. They had a
Well,
version through,
crystalline, it was in crystals and stuff like that.
yeah, and it was different, but what's the, I guess, okay, so the purpose of that, okay, so we talk about the pyramids and the interconnectedness of the energy running through them.
Mhm.
What have we lost today? Why haven't, I mean, I know this gets very intricate, but what do we need to do to have that happen again? You know what I'm saying? Like there's something occurred from the time it was shut down to where we are today, and they keep talking about the reinvigoration of the pyramids.
The the sacred knowledge on how to keep the pyramids up and running disappeared with the fall.
Yeah.
So that's why there were no more portals. even though you and I feel like there were some portals still available in different places on Earth, because there was still galactic reciprocity between humans and star beings. It's just that it wasn't in Atlantis.
Yeah, because they're talking about a system of grid work where it's like, okay, they're kind of showing like our electrical system where a major they're saying substations goes out and never gets powered up back again.
Exactly. And the knowledge on how to repower those stations is not out there yet.
But it's not out there, but it is there. It's in the Hall of Records.
It's in the Hall of Records, but no one's accessed it yet.
They don't know where it is.
Or if they have, if they have accessed it,
right,
then it's being made because they don't want that information out.
Okay, so now we're getting into another area where I heard it's being infiltrated. It's been infiltrated. Oh, but no one. Okay, so I'm kind of getting there's a decoding needed too. I don't know where we're going with this. This is so weird.
This is so out of left field. I don't know. It feels like there's crystals involved.
And alchemy, they just said. So the Ancient Aliens show, they just said to me, that's why we now we twist back to the alchemy. That's why it came up of the Ancient Aliens show, because now they're really pounding in my saying alchemical ways. Okay, now they're showing this to me. This wasn't just a thing that was turned on and would happen. There was alchemy going on in the pyramid to make the thing happen. So all the pyramids across the world, what they're showing a alchemy process happening with metals and with liquids and with which would allow for, okay, they keep saying a different kind of magnetism to be created. So there was something at the human level that was being done. Does that make sense? Like you'd work in a factory and you're running or like a power plant is a great example. People running the power plant, they knew what they were doing, but it was alchemy, and they were using metals and liquids. And
I also feel like the sun really is a factor.
Well, now
utilizing the power of the sun in this alchemical process.
Oh, yes. Oh, I just heard the word harnessing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they just said had to harness the light. Oh, they just said gateways, like gateways of light that would shaft. They just said the word shaft. Okay, so what they're trying to tell me, and they're showing me pyramids. It feels like shafts of light.
Mm-hmm.
Shafts of light would enter in, and I don't know if the pyramids, I don't know much about the pyramid. I don't mean just the Egyptian pyramids, but did the pyramids have a shaft, like a place where light would come in? I have no idea.
Yes.
Because because that's what I'm getting.
No, I think I've seen that. They thought that was meant for something else, and that shaft of light usually came through on specific, like the winter solstice or the summer solstice, or like specific days of the year.
You know why? Because they're talking about codes, activation codes from the sun through, not only they're talking about solar flares, but through, they're saying, to your point, times of the year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Activation points, they're saying. That's what they're saying. Oh.
You know what I'm getting? Okay, I'm going to go out on left field again. It feels like things like the pyramids will not be reactivated until we reconnect with our galactic brothers and sisters, where the galactic beings actually come to Earth in physical form and start interacting with us. And they will remind us of what it was like in the past and how things worked. Like, I feel like there's some kind of connection. Like, we have the lock and the galactic star beings have the key, to unlock this information that's connected to Atlantis.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm also getting is, let's say we got into the Hall of Records and we got the information. Okay, they just said recipe. It's like a recipe.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't understand how to do anything with it.
Exactly.
Because they just said it's encoded. So it's encoded. Okay, they just said only certain beings can decipher it. And some of them are actually in human form, they just said. But because we're in human form, we don't understand that, if that makes sense. Like some of us, some people actually have the key, but it's in their cellular memory.
Yes. Oh yeah, no, that makes sense, because, well, we've talked about this before, how many people on Earth right now have been star beings in the past. I mean, so many star beings decided to incarnate as humans this time around.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Okay, they just said the words unlocking the grid system. Unlocking the grid system. So, but what is the purpose? Why do we care? You see what I'm saying? Like, who cares? What is that going to gain us? So if, regardless of whether the star beings show up and we get to have that happen, or we figured it out ourselves, we know we're not going to power it back up ourselves. I mean, humans, the powers that be will not allow that to happen.
I think the reason that this is going to happen again is to clean up Earth.
That's what I wondered. Okay.
It's going to give us ways of cleaning up the water, because that's where so much pollution is, in our water. And the water, I mean, we need water to survive. So.
Okay, I'm just going to ask. Let's ask a question and see what we get. What is it we want to know about this? Because we know, we think we understand a bit why it existed. It was portals, it was health of the earth. But in this day and age, we're in such a different situation. What does that do for us during this time of ascension? Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh. So what do we want to ask about that to learn?
Well, you just asked the question, what does this do for us in this time of ascension? And I actually heard that it's going to release the information that's locked in our cellular memories.
Okay. Okay, so this ties, I think, to kind of what I'm hearing, but you're getting a different piece of that. Okay, so they're talking about toxicity. So you figure it's an energetic situation that is offered to. Okay, so it's an energetic situation, which I'm getting expelling of toxicity, not just from us, but from from the earth too.
Yes.
And your cellular memory
will unlock access to the information needed to start doing this. Information that for 3D ways that we can take care of releasing toxicity from the planet and from people and all of that. Like there's knowledge out there, but it's either hidden from us so that we can't take care of things, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you know what I just heard? It frees everyone. So
Yes.
Okay, they just said out of servitude, out of slavery. If we have that, if the pyramids are working again, okay, I'm just keep going here. If they're working again, you have free energy for everything. Everything's energy. Anything ever created starts from energy. If you got a manufacturing plant, whatever, you got to have energy to create the thing. You'll have free energy. Everything's then free. I think I'm going overboard here, but do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay, they just said out of servitude and into freedom. Free energy for all would allow, think about it, because that's what you ultimately are paying for. Anybody who creates anything at all, you're paying for some kind of electricity. energy, right? To make the thing. So therefore, okay, I'm probably missing a piece here, but I'm just going to keep going. Therefore, you need, this is how we got wrapped up into the money problem. There's a connection here, by the way. There's a connection to free energy, energy for all. And I'm talking about in the days, I'm talking about the whole grid system thing and the pyramids and all that. Free energy for all. And there's a connection to the monetary system. Like it's not needed anymore. The money's not needed because everything's ultimately free, whatever that even turns out meaning. What am I talking about? Does that make, now I'm going into the logical mind saying, does that logically make sense where everything is energetics?
It makes perfect sense. And here's the thing.
There are forces
there are forces in place that are preventing us. Maybe not as much anymore because, okay, so let me finish my thought. There have been forces in place that have been preventing humankind from moving forward and away from slavery and reliance on the, energy that's out there, that's offered out there.
And they're talking energy manipulation. So go ahead.
So as we progress in our spiritual awakening and our spiritual evolution, that is going to fall to the wayside. It can only fall to the wayside because it does not fit into the 5D paradigm. So going back to the pyramids and the energy and all of that is as we progress in our evolution, more and more people are going to have these unlocking of this information that allows us access and the creation or the remembrance of ways of providing energy to everybody for free.
Yes, freedom from servitude and slavery, because does that make sense if, let's just say today in our world, if energy was free, you could have as much electricity and it wasn't harming anything. Okay, right? Everything was getting replenished. And this is what they're showing. Everything's getting replenished as it's being used because there's, they just talked about byproducts. But they said what they're talking about, there was a process for replenishment. As you use it, it replenishes. Don't ask me, that just showed up. But the point is if you're you and me, and we want to create something, we want to, every material that is used to create something requires energy.
Right.
It requires electricity of some kind, whatever it's fueled by. But if you have free sources abundantly, you can create anything you want in 3D land, right? So everything is free in that. You see what I'm saying? And then you're not tied to the monetary system. You're not tied to money anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's the direction we're moving towards.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the whole connection with the pyramid structures and the no wonder Tesla was taken down, because the bottom line is you're paying for the energy to create. When you buy a product, you're paying for the energy that was used to create the thing, right? You can go to your basic level of a nail. You have they're tying the alchemical process to this, the creation of metals. You can create all the metals you want.
Oh, wow.
Because then you have, first of all, you've got free energy, but you're creating your metals that are necessary for it too. You know what I'm saying? Like you're creating the metals, you're creating the, so you got your alchemical process, but you also have your free energy. So then you get, and the alchemical process is also created from the stars, right? Like you were talking about the sun. So then you have all your metals, because the nail thing that just showed up was like, okay, to create a nail. And then that's when they brought me in the alchemical process. You create, because we're creators, you create the metal through alchemy, but then you have free energy to create the thing. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm tripping out here, but.
So here's the thing, because don't we mine earth for certain metals.
Yeah, and I just heard we don't need to.
We don't need to. That's what it sounds like you're saying, is that as we move forward and we rediscover and remember this alchemical process, we will no longer have to harm Gaia to access these metals.
Yeah, that was never intended is what I'm getting. And yet, they just said the word plundered. They're also giving me the metaphor of starter yeast, or like have you ever made a bread or something where like it just keeps growing? Yeah, you got to create it first from some of that, and then you basically, you get the real thing from, I don't know, say dig it up in earth or whatever, but then the alchemical process allows you to replicate it without digging into the earth and destroying earth, is what they're saying to me. So you have alchemically created all the metals you need, and you have free energy from your wireless pyramidal systems.
Yes. Yeah.
And you have your ley line energy.
Yeah.
And no wonder it has been suppressed, as well as all the knowledge of the pyramids, because there are people in power, they're saying, that understand what the pyramids were really used for. And they're suppressing all this because it basically goes back to, okay, I'm just going with this, the energy companies and how they've stranglehold. They're showing this like a stranglehold, and there's the grasp on energy, because if you have free energy and metals, right, and all of the products you need to create without destroying the earth, you have a healthy earth, you have a healthy ecosystem, and you're able to create and have abundance, material abundance for your population. No one lives in servitude, no one lives in slavery, no one lives in poverty.
Yeah, no, that's it. The capitalistic mindset about, certain companies, certain people, the 1% make all this money and everybody else doesn't, and everybody else is chained. That's going to the wayside. I don't know when that's going to happen, but it's by freeing up the energy, that's going to change everything.
Okay, I am getting also, to add to that, okay, they're talking about the grid system, and they're actually showing me the pyramids. This seems like a time well off, but who knows? Forget time again. Is that they're talking about the system will be back online one day.
Yeah.
It will be back online, because what they're talking about, it was actually designed. This wasn't like let's just try this out and see if it works. This was how it was supposed to operate.
Yep.
And I'm also getting, okay. They even have more advancements now that will be able to be available to us. But see, we have to prove ourselves through ascension too. I mean, through our conscious awareness, we have to also prove ourselves. That's why we're going through this process, right? To come back in and undo all the stuff we've done. Because like I've said before, and I had this thought driving down the road the other day, it's kind of funny, it just popped into me, how we often, when you first start this journey, you think, oh, a new earth is going to show up, literally, I'm just going to jump off and go on. And they're like, so they said to me, do you really think, that you're allowed to not have to clean up your own room? And they showed me a visual of children not being able to go out and play until their room was cleaned up. And they're having a fit and a fuss because they don't want to clean the room up, but they're not going to get to go outside. So it's the same thing. Like, do we really think we're getting away with that, given we were the ones that created this mess in the first place through our past life incarnations?
Right.
One way or another, we've all had all variety of lives. So we've all done destruction and we've all done beauty and grace.
I love it.
Okay, some of you are probably going, others of you are probably thinking, yeah, I kind of knew that. Or there may be some hopefully new information in here too. So this is really what this journey is about, is taking what you know or feel is real and true, and then going, oh, that fits in. That fits in for me. So again, I always say, take what works for you out of this. If there's one thing, two things, if there's everything, that's great. And if there's nothing, there you go. So needless to say, thank you so much for being here today. Check out Celeste's information below if you want to work with her or check out her services. And for me, it's purplerainhealing.com, where you can see all of my services. I channel in every single one of them. That's my specialty, and I also often very much bring through past lives that assist you in understanding your current incarnation journey, because our past lives really matter. So check our services out. We would also love to work with you with our soul journey session. Our soul journey session is Celeste and me doing 50 minutes of recorded information for your specific soul journey. It is the most extensive, expansive service we have. We would love to work with you. So check out my services, purplerainhealing.com, or Celeste's website information below, and we would be happy to work with you. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.